Welcome to the show. We hope you have a blast. Thanks for making time for the Dealer Talk podcast. Another business leader, here's a penny for your thoughts. This ain't a regular conversation, baby. This that Dealer Talk. Yeah, this that Dealer Talk.
All right, we're live. Wow, man. Dude, this is amazing. I'm gonna, I just want to start off with an apology. I can't even begin to tell you how excited I am for this episode to have the Alpha Dawg himself here on the show. Dude, that's incredible. Thank you so much for making time to sit with us. Dude, how are things?
Oh, I'm healthy. I'm productive. I'm teaching classes at a college. I mean, it couldn't be any better. Couldn't be.
Wow, yeah, man. I mean, when you talk about the projection, 40 plus years in the business, all kinds of different verticals since then. Man, it's incredible to just have the opportunity to pick your brain here for a little bit is awesome. So thank you so much for being here. We typically kick things off here with a background. So, I mean, people know who you are, but, tell us what you've been up to.
Where would you like me to start, Herb? I mean,
right.
My God, at 48 years in the car business, I've been a speaker at 98 state dealer conventions as the opening keynote. I've been a workshop speaker at 14 NADA conventions. I've consulted thousands of dealerships in 49 out of 50 states. Never made it to Alaska, but I've caught ups. I've talked to customers. I've done F&I. I've worked the sales desk in 49 out of 50 states.
Wow!
So I've seen a lot.
I've read, is it 15? You've worked with 15,000 dealers, right?
That's probably a little outdated. I may have worked with more than that. Yeah, at least 15,000.
Wow. Okay. Quick rapid fire question. What's the one commonality that you've seen between most of them, at least? The one thing that you're like, okay, this is like.
That's a difficult question. What's a commonality with thousands of dealerships and hundreds of thousands of employees of dealerships? If you count the conventions and the workshops I've done, the conferences, I've interacted with 100,000 or more car people.
Yeah.
What's a commonality? What is? I don't know that there's a commonality that you could just say, hey, this is the way they do it, or it's the way they don't do it, or it's the way they think or they don't think. I mean, is it regional? No. Is it by demographic of the audience of the customers you're selling cars to? I don't know.
Yeah, man, it's when you think about it at that magnitude, it's got to be pretty, there's got to be a lot of mixes, right? Everybody puts their own flavor into it. I think maybe the one thing that I would like to see us, kind of unite on and have some common ground on is fighting the stigma that's in the business. That's one of the things that still in 2022, it's like, dude, like there has to be something. We got to start looking at this thing a little bit different. And that's why I like, obviously, the stuff that you do, Michael Cirillo and
Love Michael Cirillo. Love Michael Cirillo. Yeah. What a brilliant guy. Brilliant.
Yeah, Jason Harris, all these guys that are using the platforms that are available to us today to talk about this amazing industry and get people, kind of curious and excited to enter it and not just be a part of it, like, let's just to make money sort of a deal, but to make it a career, So hopefully, man, we're moving in that direction. See what the next year.
The stigma that you talk about, the stigma, the dealers do not do the things that the people project. I mean, and unfortunately, the vendors are keeping that going. You got to understand, it is to the benefit of vendors to keep us vilified, so they can save the customer.
Yeah.
Go back to Carfax. Their commercials show the dishonest car salesperson lying to the consumer, and at the last minute, the little fox jumps up and rats him out.
Oh yeah.
So you know, there they are talking about what criminals we are, and you need Carfax to save you. I mean, and that is the message in every one of them. True Car, you can go right down every commercial that any vendor puts out there, and we're paying these people.
So you know you bring up a pretty interesting point. Like I've talked about this on the show, and this is not my premise. Like I think it was Max Zanin that mentioned this on one of my.
Max.
Yeah, yeah.
The mad Russian. You know, he's another brilliant guy. You know, I think he's a sleeper cell. I think he's here to fix U.S. elections, and he's acting like a car guy.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'll have to ask him about that. So he said something that caught my attention. He's like, dude, like we should have like this global or general marketing fund where all the dealers are kind of pitching in, kind of like what the milk industry did back in the day. And it's not about my brand. It's not about the OEM or the manufacturer that I represent, but it's about the industry as a whole, and just kind of go with this massive push. And I kind of think that there's something there, man. Like I really feel like we kind of need a little bit more of, you know, like a different message out there, or a different narrative rather. You know what I mean?
Well, we'd have to put out our own narrative because nobody else is doing that.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. You look at Carvana, you look at some of the disruptors right now. They've got such a great reputation until you read their actual reviews, what their customers are saying about them. I mean, car dealers' reviews are not nearly as bad as some of the disruptors that the public envisions.
Right.
You know, as being ethical and upright.
Yeah, and I've said this on the show before, but I think that, I mean, I get it. There's a push. I read some statistics yesterday. I think that Google published that said that post or pre-COVID online purchases were 1%. Now it's like 10%. So when you look at it from that aspect, it's like, oh, okay, like the growth is exponential. But I still feel it's too early to tell. Like if I fully transacted with a Carvana or a Vroom, would I be a repeat customer 5 years from now? I don't know. Like, you know, is that? I still feel like it's too soon to kind of.
Her people are not transacting online. I mean, statistically, and I don't like statistics. I think 96.3% of all statistics are made up by the speaker on the spot. You know.
I like
I don't like statistics. I mean, analytics. I'm not an analytical guy. Analytics. What are the first four letters of the word analytics?
Man, you want me to say it here? We're live, man.
No, we got it. So you see where I'm coming with all that.
Yeah, for sure.
But let's just say a minimal amount of consumers buy the cars online. They do. Digital retailing is going to be real, and it is gaining popularity. But people are not pulling the trigger. They're not buying the cars. They're getting right up to the point. They're not performing the F&I. They're not buying the car. They're filling out the paperwork. They're researching the vehicles, but they still are physically coming to the dealerships. That's where all the digital retailers are scratching themselves at both ends, saying, "Wait a second. We thought the people would buy the cars online, but it's only a minimal amount, you know, and it's not even statistically worth mentioning."
Yeah, but do they do it because, and this is what I pose to the dealers that I consult with, do they do it because that's what they're going to do moving forward, or they do it because of the novelty of it? Oh, I can buy it online. Let me go through that process and see. And if that's the case, am I going to do it again in the future? Because I don't know. Like I'm 40.
They're not doing it, Herb. They're not doing it.
Right. So I'm 40, and everybody in my circle that I talk to, and I ask the question, would you buy a car online? None of them say yes. No. Zero. So I don't
think about that a second. And that's and I take it you're probably millennial unless you just have eternal youth. So anyway, they're not doing it. We statistically know that the consumers are not buying it now. But if you listen to the vendors will tell you, oh, everybody's doing it.
Right.
One thing you have to remember, figures lie when liars figure.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's a Zieglerism. That's a Zieglerism. Yeah. You know,
Very cool.
never trust statistics about a vendor supplied by the vendor or a company the vendor hired.
Yeah. It's funny. I
So,
just had this conversation yesterday. I'm not going to name names because that's not what we do here. But this company was like, "Oh yeah, and you got to look at our dashboard. The numbers are incredible." I'm like, Sorry, I don't trust your dashboard. Like, I need to look at GA. I need to look at, I need to look at other things because I don't know.
okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
When I do a seminar, and I've done a million conferences, a million seminars, and I'm 75 years old. Everybody can know that. I don't have any problem with it. I just turned 75 last week. And I've been
Happy birthday,
48
man.
years in the business. I'm teaching internet to young people.
That's amazing.
Think about that. I'm teaching. I got 150,000 friends and followers on social media, and I'm leveraging that. The whole thing in the car business. You ask about a commonality is we need to learn to leverage relationships for mutual benefit. That's a Zieglerism, but still, leverage relationships. The most powerful people on earth are those people that influence the most other people.
Yes.
Influence is power, money is measurement.
Sure.
So how many people do I influence? 150,000 people on social media, Facebook, YouTube. My channels are doing well. YouTube is off the hook. Everything is doing well. And that's the one thing the car business needs to learn is how to communicate with the customers in a customer friendly conversational way that beyond. Go ahead,
Jim. Do you think that's a great point, man? Because I agree. And I was just watching somebody put some content out there that talked about, hey, enough with the leads. Let's have the conversation with the customer. But don't you think that some of the things that we have internally at the dealership prevent that from taking place?
Like what?
Like the steps to the sale, for example, in the world that we live in today.
Well, the steps to the sale, there are
or at least needs to be adjusted or revamped for the time.
I still teach the steps to the sale, but they don't have to be in order. Think about this. You learn in modules. There's got to be some point where we select a vehicle, whether we do it on a keyboard or whether we do it on a telephone. And right now, excuse me, the best way to communicate with the consumer, of course, is the most responsive is text. But however you communicate with your customer, whatever modality or dimension you're communicating with the customer, how do you do this? How do you have that conversation? How do you project personality? The steps to the sale, you still have to select a vehicle.
Sure.
That is a step to the sale, whether it's on the keyboard, whether it's a function, whether it just shows up on your CRM that they've selected a vehicle. It doesn't matter. There's still got to be a meet and greet. You got to meet and greet them somewhere.
Sure.
But do you have to do all these steps in order? The road to the sale never changed. We just put technology into it. And that's what people don't get. The road to the sale is dead. How many times have I heard that? No, it's not.
It's not that it's dead. Like I agree with you. Because you want control. In order to have control, you want to know what the next, you have to have okay, I got to do this and that, it just keeps you on it. I get that part. My it's not even a concern, but the question that I pose when I ask this is, do you think that for some people, it may be like, okay, well, I got to do this and this and this and this. And then they forget to have a conversation, because ultimately that's how you're going to sell, is just have a genuine conversation with that consumer, learn from that consumer, listen to what they're saying to you, like attentively, and then take that information to give them put them in the right opportunity, so to speak. And sometimes I feel, or I've been in trainings and things of that nature where I see people, and it's not everybody, but I do see some people that kind of struggle with that. And they're so concerned about the next thing that they have to move the customer along to that they forget to humanize that interaction.
Well, there's a lot of people that do that, but you got to remember, everybody in the car business isn't suited to be in the car business.
True that.
There's a lot of
Yes.
people that really shouldn't be in our business. I mean, they need to be supersizing fries somewhere. You know, yeah. How many times have I interviewed salespersons? You got to remember, I've been 48 years. I've been a manager most of those 48 years. I think from a management viewpoint.
Sure. Yeah.
I think from the dealer general manager viewpoint, actually. And I have grown so many dealerships to the big numbers, but the one thing I interview people on the salesperson level, the entry level, and I have to remind them, hey, why did we hire you? Oh, I don't know. We hired you not because you could fog up a mirror. We hired you, you know, which a lot of people do today.
Yeah.
We hired you because we suspected you had a personality. You know, use your personality. What happened to your personality when you talk to these people? You stopped having a personality. When I teach the relationship things, you know, when you scientifically break down relationships, I taught Dale Carnegie before I got in the car business.
Oh, me too. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm a Dale Carnegie coach too. That's awesome, dude. I didn't know that.
I'm talking 1973.
Oh, okay. So that was when it was
okay.
super dope. Yeah.
I'm talking, because Dale Carnegie invented scientific sales.
Right
Dale,
on.
Dale Carnegie was the first human being to quantify sales. You know, if I could, would you was a Dale Carnegie concept. It's a Dale Carnegie concept. People vilify that. But the people that vilify it don't know how to sell. Because if I could, would you? And I don't say it that way anymore. I would say, Mr. Customer, let me be sure I understand what you're saying. If I understand what you're saying, you're telling me that if we will agree to $585 a month, you'll own the car now. And Mr. Customer, there's no other roadblocks other than that $585. I mean, if I can meet that, there's nothing else that's going to stand in our way of doing business. You know, if I could do that, we'll do business. If I could do that. And, and that is called isolating the objection, where the customer doesn't have another objection after. And I guarantee you, every salesperson watching this broadcast, they've had a situation where the customer says, I'll do it if you do this. And then we did this. And then say, oh, I got one more thing. Oh, wait a minute.
Right, yes.
Yeah. Oh, one more thing. Yeah. So anyway, what you want to do is isolate the objection.
Sure.
And that is the if I could, would you? And the people have vilified that. But the people that vilify that.
Don't you think that now that's even truer, if that's even a word, right? Because think about it from the context of where we are. Efficient market, buyer and seller has the same information. Customer goes to, according to some of the studies out there, 1.5 dealers. I don't even know how they come up with that number, but so they're there, right? So all you have to do is remove the objections, and if you do that, you're going to get the deal. Do you think that it's more?
Okay, the four things. If you're a Carnegie instructor, you're going to know the four things. The four things are family, occupation, recreation, and motivation. I tell salespeople and I tell managers, you'd be amazed how many managers couldn't sell escorts on the troop train. So anyway, when I'm talking about family, occupation, recreation, motivation, everybody listening to this broadcast, you've got an inventory.
Right.
Everybody, I sent you my resume. Did you get it? Did you get a look at it?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's 4 pages long. And the resume talks about what I've done.
Right.
I'm an Eagle Scout.
Yeah.
That's part of my inventory. I was a pole vaulter in high school. That's part of my inventory.
Yeah.
And we were Carnegie instructors. That was part of my inventory. Now, if I find somebody that has something in my inventory that matches up with their inventory,
you got instant connection right there.
That's common ground, and people don't get that. Family's the number one subject you can talk about. of all the things, of all the conversational subjects you can talk about, and to sell a car, you got to have a conversation outside of the deal.
Absolutely.
There's got to be some conversation outside the deal, not involved in the deal. You got a family, I have a family. We're going to talk about that.
Let's talk about that. Yeah.
You got children, if you got a puppy, we're going to talk puppies. I mean, people don't get that. You're a stamp collector. I'm a stamp collector, if that's true. You're a Shriner. Huh, I drink. There's got to be.
I like that one, man.
Yeah. That generally demotivates them, but family, occupation, recreation, motivation. I can sell a car. I can sell a car in an elevator.
I believe you. I believe you.
Absolutely, because I genuinely like people. And there's some people that don't genuinely like people. You don't need to lie, cheat, sneak, deceive, misrepresent to sell cars.
Right. No,
it's all conversation.
Totally agree with that. All right. So the one thing I wanted to pick your brain on, just because, and I'm sure you've talked about this, I've seen a bunch of posts and stuff, but it's been a crazy couple of years, no question. There's some weird stuff happening in the industry. Just big picture, somebody with your experience with his finger on the pulse of things. What's your big prediction for 2022? What do you think? Like, if you were to lay it out, do you think we're going to have a repeat of 2021? I'm seeing already market slowdown.
2022 is 2021 all over again. This chip shortage isn't going to end this year. Our biggest.
Did you happen to catch the live broadcast this morning? We're talking about Intel and that whole.
No, I didn't. I didn't catch it. No.
So I guess they're working out a deal with Intel here. The president was on there talking about it, and I don't know. Potentially, there could be some stuff there that could help us with in that department. But
even so, the raw materials. The whole world is competing for these raw materials that make the chips. I mean, and then we're competing with Apple. We're competing. The car business is competing with everybody in the world uses these chips. I mean, so we'll find out, but not this year.
Okay.
The biggest thing a car dealer needs to do now is to devise ways of acquiring inventory.
Well, and let's talk about that too, because here's my take. I love to see if you think that I'm on a good path, or if I'm maybe not on a good path.
You're wrong. What is it?
So here's what I said this on the last episode. I think that right now, dealers between now and tax season, that we got to stock up. I know that there's risk in that, but I feel like the demand supply situation is still there. And while that's there, we still have opportunity to obviously fill that demand, make grosses, and take advantage. And not to sound, like opportunistic, if that's what you say, but that's what business is, right? We got to take advantage of the
Listen to you. I want you to stop that and don't ever do it again. You're apologizing for profits.
Right. There you go.
Listen to you. I don't want to sound opportunistic. Yeah, get out of here.
Yeah. You call me out. You're absolutely correct.
Absolutely.
So do you agree? Do you think that we should be buying inventory right now, regardless of the potential risk in it, or should we just be really, really cautious and just kind of stay at the levels that we're moving?
No, we were born doing risk. I mean, my God, waking up is a risk. I mean, I watched that movie Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. That was one of my favorite of all the series, and Sean Connery was in it, and Indiana Jones had the chalice.
Yeah.
And he was standing on the edge of the chasm, and he looked down and he couldn't even see the bottom of the chasm. And the voice said, "Step out and the rock will appear." No. So finally he steps a foot out there, and all of a sudden the rock appeared and he walked across. Yeah. You got to step out there. The rock will appear.
Yeah.
You got to do it.
I agree, but man, the conversations are tough right now because a lot of the decision makers are a little bit nervous about spending the money. And I'm like, dude, what, are you gonna wait till it's summertime? And you're like, do it now. It's like stock up and let's see where things take us.
I didn't become a millionaire being cautious. You know what?
For sure.
You got to be a decision maker. And I like people that make quick and accurate decisions. I have no patience with the slow thinker. When I manage managers, and that's a whole other talent, a whole other skill. I am a manager of managers. I am a sales trainer, but I don't train sales. I train managers, and because frankly, of all the nationally recognized trainers, I'm one of the very few, 2 or 3 out of 100 that actually was a manager. And then I'm 2 or 3 out of those people that actually was good at it.
Right.
A lot of these bozos are out there today trying to teach people how to sell cars with their Facebook credentials.
Right.
I was watching some hillbilly on YouTube the other day teaching stuff I taught 30 years ago. I mean, catch up with it. There's an on switch on your computer, pal.
Right. Yeah. So, speaking of that, right, because of your experience and in particular the finance side of things, I wanted to kind of get
all the world records I set were in finance. I was a manager. I held every variable position except general manager. I never was a general manager. And
so, but finance was where
I set all the records. I was the first manager to do $1,000 a retail unit. That's pretty well documented.
Wow.
I did $1,000 a retail unit in 1982 before anybody else had ever done that number.
That's when I was born, man.
Yeah, when I did that number, it blew people away because the average around town was $400 a retail unit. And
wow.
I hit the $1,000 per retail unit barrier. Because remember, we only had $13,000 cars and 48-month financing.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Totally different setup. But so what's your take on it's kind of a two-sided question. Last year, amazing grosses, right? Like record setting, everybody like
Herb, stop a second. I see on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, I see all these people congratulating each other and giving each other trophies for setting the dealership record. Right.
Excuse
me, pal. A monkey with a note in his mouth could have set that record. Okay.
Yes. That's exactly where I was going. Yeah. So do you think that is that, do you think that that's the new normal, or do you think that we're getting used to that and we're going to get kind of punched in the mouth here, or do you think that it's truly going to be something that's going to?
I have always had that attitude. I was listening to our pal Max Zanin the other day, and we got in a big scowl about this because Max and I go at it. I mean, we're friends.
Right.
And he said, there are high volume dealerships and high profit dealerships, as if you couldn't have both.
Both. Yeah, sure.
You can have high volume and high profitability.
Sure.
Customers don't come in the dealership, even most of them haven't even selected a vehicle. They think they have.
Mm-hmm.
They've selected a vehicle, but they buy something else, which is one of the reasons that online digital retailing is not working, because the consumers switch themselves every time because they don't know selection. They haven't seen the cars. But the problem is you can have high gross, full price is a fair price. And this industry has lost the vision of that until this year. All of a sudden this year, hey, we can make full price and we can get down payment from the customers. Down payment has always been the reason profits are low, because the sales department, sales managers, salespersons haven't got the ability to say, Mr. Customer, I need $5,833 down. Rather, how much were you thinking about putting down? Don't ever ask a customer how much down payment they have. Tell them how much they need.
Right. And that's a great point. And I've heard a lot of people talk about this, but why it seems like in our industry, that's kind of like an expectation from the consumer that we're supposed to like whittle down the price. And if we don't do it, then the next dealer down the street's going to do it. But like when you go buy a house, for example, you don't have those types of situations. You don't, you know what I mean? Like this is the transaction and you're in or you're out sort of a deal.
No, people negotiate on houses. They certainly do.
Well, yeah, but not to that level of, you know what I mean? Like the whole situation of, and I've actually been in
houses are pretty unique. Cars are not. That's a used car is extremely unique. I mean, there's only one like it, but a new car, everybody's got the same equipment. You know, everybody's got the same merchandise.
But do you think that we create that internally ourselves because we're just driving the price down to get the deal? Sort of like it's like we're selling with price. You know what I mean?
I was watching this show the other day. My wife watching this show on TV, Flea Market Flip, where they recondition things and sell it at the flea market. And I wasn't watching it, but I'm in the room and I heard. And the woman selling whatever she was selling at the flea market, the people said, "Well, how much is this?" And the woman said, "Well, it's $585, but we're negotiable."
Right away.
I mean, oh, we're negotiable. And believe me, people sell cars that way.
Yeah, for sure.
They're talking about the deal.
Now more than ever, businesses need more efficient sales. That's why thousands of dealerships trust Foureyes to help with things like automated inventory email updates and ensuring all of your leads get into the CRM. To try Foureyes for free, visit foureyes.io/dealertalk. That's foureyes.io/dealertalk.
I see people out there talking about the deal all the time. The deal is the first subject of conversation. What's your budget? What a dumbass question that is. What's your budget? Why would I ever ask? How much do you want to spend? Not quit it. What's your budget? If they ever hung the person that made that fright, I'd kick the chair out myself. Excuse me. What's your budget? I mean, think about it. How much do you want to pay? So we're starting at the bottom and trying.
Right. And trying to bring it up.
Now all of a sudden we're bumping the customer. Most dealers just spend their entire deal bumping people.
That's so true. Wow.
Why are you bumping people? Because you started out low.
Low. Yeah. That's so true.
Yeah, you're bumping people. You wouldn't be bumping people if you gave them your figure first.
So do you think that this has been a learned lesson, or do you think that we're going to soon enough start competing with each other once we get to those levels?
You know, the reason deals are blown, the reason people have weaknesses during the deal, the reason all of this happens is one thing: Zieglerism, fear of the money. The reason salespeople are afraid of the money. We're afraid to even look at that customer. I need $5,000. Or why is that? And I want you to think about what I'm about to say. The reason people are afraid of the money is the majority of car salespeople, the majority, are unable financially to buy the cars they're selling. They couldn't buy the car they're selling. And they couldn't envision. See what I'm saying? Most car salespeople can't buy that $70,000 car they're selling. And when they're selling a $70,000 car, the money scares them to death.
It's them. Yeah, dude. Wow, that's so. I used to be a service manager, and I used to tell my ASMs that I was like, dude, do not make that decision for the customer that it's too much money or not. You present the information just as it's there. Because they were afraid when they got an estimate that was $4,000 or $5,000, they freak out.
They're afraid of the money because they themselves couldn't pay it.
Wow, that's so true.
I just gave you a revelation, didn't
I?
Think about it. I teach that. And I bought my son Zachary when he turned 16. I bought him a Mustang GT. I called the president of Ford, who at the time was Jim O'Connor, 2005. My son turned 16. I gave him a 325 horsepower Mustang, Anyway, 16-year-old. Yeah. Within 2 months, he wrapped it around a tree, but that's another story. But the story goes, I called Jim O'Connor. I said, look, I need a Mustang GT. He said, well, we just changed the body style. He said, it's really hard to get vehicle. I said, great. He said, I'll ship you one. Where would you like me to ship it? And I told him I was consulting the Ford Minority Dealers program at the time. And I said, I want you to ship it to one of my minority dealers. I gave him the dealer's name. So the car was ordered, and all of a sudden I get a call from the finance manager. And the finance manager said, Mr. Ziegler? I said, yeah. He said, listen, we got your Mustang coming in this week. How do you intend to pay for it? I said, well, I'll finance with you. I'll pay cash. What do you have in mind? He said, well, I've got some good rates. I said, okay, if your rate's good, I'll go with it. And he said, okay, so we did all of that. And then he said, I said, oh, by the way, I want a 6-year, 100,000 mile Ford ESP service contract. He said, well, how many miles do you drive? I said, well, what difference? I want a 6-year, 100,000 mile premium ESP, the best service contract you have. Well, Mr. Ziegler, I could probably save you some money. How many miles do you drive? I said, listen, you're qualifying me. I just told you put the service contract on.
What I want.
I mean, he said, well, Mr. Ziegler, that would be like $1,500. He said, I could save you money. The dealer told us not to make more than $500 on you. I said, son, $1,500, is that what it cost? He said, yeah. I said, I'm a millionaire. That's not even a blackjack chip to me. I said, put the damn service contract on there. Stop trying to talk me out of the gross.
That's insane, man. Wow. But it's true, though. We do that. That makes a lot of sense. It really does when you break it down. Like that's very insightful. So where would you say we are right now? Are we transitioning? Are we going back? Are we do you think that we're going back to the low profit days?
I think the manufacturers are going to limit inventory even when the chip shortage ends. I think the manufacturers,
this is the new normal.
I think the manufacturers have just discovered that they can make more money and have a greater turnover of inventory by limiting inventory. Matter of fact, in Automotive News last week, Honda said they are going to cut back inventory as much as 1/3, I believe he said, when the chip shortage ends.
Yeah.
So we're not going to have as many cars as we used to have. They're going to become a little more scarce. Customers are going to get used to paying MSRP. But on the other hand, Carlisi, the president of General Motors, just said he's going to really step on dealers and brokers that are selling these cars for the extravagant markups.
Right. I mean, there's going to have to be some sort of control there for sure.
Well, some of you people out there, listen to me. Leasing. You got to get back into leasing because when that lease ends, the customer's not going to be upside down in 3 years. You're not going to burn the customer. They never come back to see you. You're selling cars for $10,000 over sticker fine, but that's going to end.
Sure.
And when the manufacturers start flooding the market with inventory again, which they're going to do, and all of a sudden they got rebates, and you sold them that car that they're effectively $25,000 upside down. You didn't perform a sale; you performed a wedding, and and these people can't get out of it.
That's so true.
Exactly.
I love that.
You're going to get into leasing. Leasing is going to be the salvation. If you do it, you can mark up that lease tremendously.
So, what are your thoughts on used car leasing?
Well,
BS.
if I had a lender that would do it, I'm all up for it. That's amazing. But that comes and goes.
Yeah.
And you got to get into. There's several things dealers need to do. I don't know how many dealer principals or general managers are watching this right now, but you need to start hanging on to some of these cars you're wholesaling. Some of the
So
cars you're
true.
higher mileage. Go back and you need to have a lender that will finance high mileage. You have to have a lender that will finance back 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of these cars, a car is sold 4 times in its lifetime.
Yeah.
Every car is sold 4 times, sold and resold. So
True.
the last person that sold it made more money than the first 2 people that sold it put together.
Yep.
I mean, that buy here, pay here lot on the corner made more money than anybody on that car. So some of the cars that your wholesalers are buying are high profit vehicles.
Sure.
We build them better. They last longer. Nobody builds a bad car anymore.
Yeah. And the mean year seems to be getting pushed. So yeah, for sure. So, that's awesome. And so kind of shifting gears here really quick. I wanted to definitely pick your brain on this one. So yeah, there you go. I want to talk to you about marketing, man, with all your expertise and all your years of experience. What do you think we should be doing on the marketing side? Do you think that we should still be 100%, or that we should have a mix between traditional and digital, which is what I feel that we should be doing, especially now? Or are you like all on the digital side and forget the traditional? Like, what's your thoughts, especially now during this time?
There's a lot of people that have shifted 100% to digital. Me, what mediums are out there? You got radio, you got newspaper, you got television, you've got social media, you've got traditional pay-per-click, you've got mass email, you got newspaper is extremely effective if you're training a puppy.
True.
Did you get that?
Yeah. It took me a minute, but yeah.
Newspaper is extremely effective. Maybe you're training a puppy, you got a parakeet, but other than that, newspaper is a dead entity.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Radio is only effective if you're doing live on-site broadcasts. If you're having a sale, and that's one thing, dealers are pitiful. You guys are terrible, women and guys. You're terrible. I mean, big sale, and you get to the dealership, and there's nothing that looks like a big sale.
Mm-hmm.
There's no desktop things. There's no banners.
There's no umph, right?
Hey man, I still put gorillas on the roof and the wavy arm guy. Yeah, I want to look like a sale is happening here.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And
dress it up
and display. I mean, my God, the front line of your dealership is a quarter of a mile of billboard, and nobody displays their merchandise. But television is still extremely effective. Extremely. Yes. If you buy demographics. Because one thing you need to do is get in the subprime business.
And I agree, but there is a digital component to TV that people are not measuring. You got to look at how that impacts your website traffic during the times that your campaigns are running. And
what a great observation. To advertise your website. As a side note to the focus of your advertising.
Yeah.
But demographics, people don't realize with cable TV, you can geofence a neighborhood. I mean, you can actually geofence a county.
Yep.
With cable TV, you don't have to buy the whole city. You can buy your area. And you need to get into subprime because especially delinquencies are going up.
Exactly.
People have been out of work. I mean, there's going to be a lot more bad credit or poor credit than there ever was. So we need to start thinking about getting into subprime, lining up the subprime lenders, getting a subprime mentality in the dealership, and having merchandise that will suit subprime. Merchandise that is subprime friendly, that books high and you can buy it low.
Yeah.
So subprime, a lot of subprime customers out there, a lot of people that are going to have bad credit. We need to have the merchandise, the profitability, and you need to advertise specifically for subprime.
Let them know, right? That you're,
the Maury show, any judge show, you're going to find subprime customers.
There you go. Yes. Agreed.
Any judge.
There you go. No, I totally agree, man. I think that you got to be doing. There's a mix for both. I like the demo add on there. I think that's crucial. And let's not limit ourselves, and let's combine those strategies too. Let's make them omni-channel to a certain degree, so that the customer sees that on multiple channels. So, dude, thank you so much, man.
Oh, are we done? Are we done?
No. I was going to say,
I thought we were going to be on like 3 hours. Okay.
No, thank you so much for doing this. I do appreciate it. I wanted to kind of switch things up a little bit because I don't get guests like you often, like with all the expertise and knowledge. And I wanted to ask you some questions that are more experience based, maybe about, and I kind of wrote them down because I didn't want to forget. But is that okay? Do you mind?
Jump right in there.
All right. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you is, you obviously your Facebook page. I love it. Lots of great information. I love the controversies that go in there because it allows us to see both points, both ends of the spectrum.
You know what I'm doing. You know what I'm doing with the controversy.
Yeah, but I think
I'm driving traffic to the content.
Yeah, I think we learn from that, so I love it. And sometimes I go into something thinking a certain way, and then because of the back and forth there, I kind of like, oh, okay, you know what? There's something there. So the question that I wrote down was this: what is something that you would think that they misunderstand about you?
Oh, what is something people misunderstand about me?
Yes.
Okay, well, you have discovered it. But people don't realize I'm an intellectual. People don't realize, because see, I created the Alpha Dawg. Now I live 30 miles from University of Georgia, the Georgia Bulldogs. God bless. But anyway, the world champions. I mean, we got the Braves and University of Georgia #1. We just won the World Series, and now we're #1 in collegiate.
Wow, that's awesome.
And we're not talking about the Falcons and all. But anyway, when I created the Alpha Dawg is a cartoon character. The Alpha Dawg wears gold chains.
Gold chains, yeah.
Yeah. It has $100,000 on my left hand. That doesn't count my right hand. I'm wearing $100,000 worth of jewelry on my left hand. I got the chains and the Cartier glasses and the image, the car salesman image. This is a cartoon character. I'm an intellectual. I mean, I have presidents of major corporations calling me for advice. I mean, I've written for the magazines for 14 years with Digital Dealer magazine, and a lot of people don't know that about me. They take the cartoon and they think that really is me. Because folks, I'm just messing with you.
It's all part of the plan, man.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes those things are missed. But strategy is a real thing, man. Like if you see something and you kind of understand what the objective is, especially nowadays when you have all these platforms available, like, building a personal brand or building a brand, not even a personal brand, just building a brand is.
Oh my God, Herb, I got 150,000 friends and followers on social media, and most of them are in the car business.
Yeah.
I've got several groups on Facebook that are upwards of 14,000 people.
Yeah.
And they're all in the car business. I mean, the most powerful people on earth are those people that influence the most other people.
Yeah.
So money is just measurement. And I don't need money. I don't need money. That's what differentiates me from a lot of people.
Yeah, there you go.
I stopped needing money 15 years ago. I can't live as long as my money. Now I'm giving back.
Back.
Now I'm creating a legacy. Now I'm helping people. If all the people I have helped and the people I'm continuing to help, I've changed lives. And that's where I'm at. That's the other thing people don't know about me. Because I help people a lot. I do a lot of good things for a lot of people, but I try not to get caught doing it.
Part of the image.
But the image is I'm egotistical, which that is true. I love me dearly. I'm egotistical, but I'm like Muhammad Ali. I will knock him out.
Right on, man. So what, at this point, 40 plus years in the car business, success on not just in the industry, but post, like transcended it to a certain degree, right? What makes you feel inspired now at this point?
Okay, what makes me feel inspired? Well, the fact that I am influencing so many people. I'm teaching a college class at Northwood University. I mean, I'm teaching a class on how to become, that is a university that has a major in automotive. A lot of dealers, sons and daughters, and people that want to be general managers. I've got 25 kids. I say kids, anybody under 50 is a kid. But anyway, I've got 25 young people in my class, men and women, and I'm teaching them how to be a general manager. And I'm looking back. When I drove to Atlanta in 1982, I had my mattresses tied to the roof, and it was a buy here, pay here car. I was making weekly payments because my credit was so bad. And I mean, everything I owned was in that old beat up car, but it was a Lincoln Continental. It was 1973 model, and this was 1982. Driving a 73 Continental, 25 feet long. You couldn't see the hood ornament in the fog. And I'm driving, and I made the decision I was going to be a success. I was a millionaire within 5 years.
Wow.
And the car business has given back to me, and I'm giving back to the car business. I'm helping a lot of people. So that's what keeps I'm at.
That's what keeps you going now.
Oh yeah. I don't need the money. I have money.
That's awesome.
Now, don't get me wrong. I will take money. I signed a $10,000 contract just before I came on the air. I'm taking money.
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you. Like, I agree with what you say. Like, for me, the compensation has always been, I mean, it's obviously your livelihood, but it's also, it's a grade, like, on the quality of your work and what the value that you bring. So
I charge $10,000 a day plus first class travel. The Alpha Dawg don't fly in the back of no planes. I don't. I look in the back of the plane through the curtains, and I see those people back there 7 rows across and groveling for peanuts and shit. I don't do that.
That's awesome.
I don't even know what goes on back there. Looks like a prison car back there.
So you mentioned the university, and I want to talk to you about that because I thought that was a pretty cool thing. I saw a post the other day that said that you were invited back for another semester. Talk to me about that, man. What's that experience like? Obviously you enjoy it, but what's your objective with that?
Well, my objective with that is simply to teach, because when you're in school, when you see an instructor at the front of the room and you wonder, can they really do it? There's a lot of people teaching the car business that couldn't do it if their whole damn miserable life depended on it. I mean, there's people teaching the car business that can't do the car business. Mm-hmm. So when I stand in front of that group, or virtually now, they're seeing what you're seeing here.
Yeah.
When I stand in front of the group and I'm teaching that class, they listen to me for 10 minutes and they know that I can do it. And that makes it valid. That makes it worthwhile. And I'm teaching things that I know will help these people and when they get out in the dealerships.
Right on. So we talked about it earlier, and I was in your resume, and obviously just from the background of following your content and stuff, but 15,000 plus dealers, multiple courses, multiple platforms. What is the one thing, if there is one thing, that your programs have done for your clients that you didn't expect that it would do?
Okay. I've always expected results. I have a reputation for growing dealerships to the big numbers. That's what I do. If your dealership's doing 500 units, I'll get you to 1,000, and we'll do it quickly.
Wow.
And you're doing 400 units, I'll take you to 1,000. You're doing 200, I'll take you to 600. I've done it over and over again. There's a formula, and the formula is act like you're already doing it. If you want to be at 600 units and you know you're capable of doing 600 units, you've already studied the demographics of the market. And I know I'm capable of doing 600 units. I have a competitor doing 600 units, but I'm doing 200 units. We can get you to 600 units in 6 months. And what surprised me when I first did it, when I started my company in 1986, when I left the retail end of the business and started Ziegler Super Systems, I thought that every losing dealership in the world would hire me. I thought the worst dealerships in the world, hey, we're going to hire Ziegler. We're going to get really, that didn't happen. The people that were already selling 400 units a month, that were knocking the cover off the ball, those people hired me to get better. Losers never hired me.
Isn't that something? Wow.
I mean, I've worked with some of the biggest, most well-known dealerships in the country, and I took them to bigger numbers. And, back in the very beginning, I went into Westway Ford in Dallas, Texas. Joe Tighe owned it at the time. Jeff Enright was the general manager. And that dealership was selling upwards of 400 units. And we took that dealership with my processes and their talent. We took that dealership to 1,000 units month after month within 6 months. And then Van Tile bought that dealership, and Van Tile doesn't hire consultants, so I didn't. So I went over and worked with Prestige Ford, their competition. And we got them right up to 1,000 units a month within 6 months. I got more war stories of dealerships we've grown to the big numbers a long time ago and recently. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And
you just blew my mind again, man. Like, isn't that something? The stores that you would expect would be like calling you, they don't even see it, man. It's the stores that are already winning that want to win more.
When I first started this company, I got a call. I left the last 3 dealerships I left because of pay cuts. The dealer wanted to revitalize my pay plan. How many times I've heard that speech? Well, we're going to take it out of one pocket and put it in the other. Yeah, right. You are. The other pocket's yours.
Or you ever get that you're making too much money? You're making more money than the GM pay plan change?
I had a GM tell me that. Stovall Nissan. And he said, well, you're making more money than I am, the general manager. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll switch positions on your pay plan. I'll still make more money than you.
There you go.
So at that point, I said, would you be polite enough to give me a ride home? So I went and got my salesman Samsonite, 2 cardboard Valvoline boxes. salesman Samsonite, cardboard box. Yeah. So I went and got my cardboard box, and I came home and told my wife, I'm starting a company. I'm going to start a consulting company. 1986. She said, who else is doing this? I said, nobody. I'm creating it. And I did. I created the whole consulting industry. Nobody had done it before I did it.
That's awesome.
And I flew to Detroit, and I heard that Jesse Jackson and Ford Motor Company had made an agreement that they would have 300 minority African-American owned dealerships. So Ford had made an agreement with the Rainbow Coalition to have 300 black dealerships, black owned. And I came back with $1 million contract.
Oof.
First year in business. And most of it came from Ford. I was getting, I was the spokesperson for Ford ESP service contracts. I was consulting the minority dealers program. I was doing a private F&I school for Ford all over the country. And Ford was supplying the students. So those three agreements with Ford total more than $1 million my first year.
That's incredible.
And that's how we started Ziegler Super Systems.
Wow.
And it was amazing because I spoke at NADA conventions, and the first one I spoke at was 1987. And I was speaking on F&I, and then F&I actually had me going around the country teaching F&I schools for NADA. So business just exploded for me.
How much of it do you think, I mean, I hope you don't take this question the wrong way, but how much of it do you think was just the timing of doing it? Obviously, you know your stuff. There's no question there. But how much do you think it was timing, and how much do you think of it was just, having that connection, luck, whatever you want to call it?
No, it was me. It was me. And I say that there's that ego of mine. I'm the best there. I'm the best there is at what I do.
Yeah.
I am the very best there is at what I do. I mean, I'm not one of the best. I'm the very best. I used to listen to that wrestler, Bret Hart. I'm the best there ever was, ever will be. And, I'm right there. I'm the best there is at what I do. I'm a master closer. I technically know the car business. You see, I got to say, I became a student of the car business early, a student of the car business, as surely as if I was studying for a master's degree in any other profession. I'm teaching F&I courses, F&I director courses, general manager courses at Northwood University, for heaven's sake.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, and it was me, because a lot of people would have liked to have got that minority contract. But there was one or two other people that got a contract similar to what I had, but it wasn't my contract.
Yeah. So here's a probably a cheesy question that you get all the time, but if you could go back, right, and talk to your former self, then that, when you were making that trip and the mattress on top of the car and, knowing everything that you've accomplished, what piece of advice would you give him?
What would I give myself?
Yeah.
I should have hired Grant Cardone.
Right on. Okay. I like that. Did you have the opportunity to do it in past, or?
No. I admire Grant Cardone. He and I were competitors for years, and we went in different directions. But you see, I have no envy. I don't own a jet. Everybody's somewhere on the ladder of success.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
If you measure that by money, Grant won. And I have no envy. I am congratulating people that do better than I do. I don't care. I mean, I don't want anything you have. I might want something like what you have, but I don't want yours.
Right.
So I mean, I will help you, and I will cheer for you, and I will applaud you. When I'm teaching a class, I want the people I'm teaching to be better than I was. I want them to enjoy a better lifestyle than I do. I don't care to conquer somebody else. That's not what I'm all about.
Right.
Your Grant Cardone, I admire Grant, and I mean, God bless him, but I'm where I am, and I've helped a lot of people, and I'll continue to.
Right. So that brings me to my last kind of off the industry question, so to speak. But at this point, right? I mean, we talked about it. You mentioned it earlier. You said the word legacy. What do you want that to be for you? What's your legacy that you want to leave?
Well, I think I'm building that legacy. I was talking to Chris Baker, Benton Baker dealerships. Now, Benton Baker dealerships are the fastest growing company in the country right now. They bought 23 dealerships almost overnight. I talked to Kristen Dillard at the team dealerships. I talked to Tracy Myers, the mega used car dealer. And I look at people, I'm talking to Chris Baker, and Chris Baker says, "Do you remember me?" I said, "Well, I meet a lot of people." And he said, 25 years ago, when you were consulting Berger Chevrolet in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And Berger Chevrolet was one of those success stories. We went up to 500 units a month in those days. I don't think they're doing that right now. But we went from 200 to 500 units overnight. Matter of fact, one of my proteges in that dealership was Todd Wenzel, who is a mega dealer today. He was an employee. He was an F&I manager. I trained him. But Chris Baker said to me, he said, "I was a brand new car salesman walking in the door when you started training and consulting that dealership." And then I'm talking to Tracy Myers. And Tracy Myers said, "Jim, do you remember me?" I said, "Well, help me out." He said, when I was at Atlanta Toyota years ago, I was in the conference room and I said, "Oh, I remember you." He said, "Yeah." He said, "I was really depressed and dejected, and I was going to quit the dealership and get out of the car business. And you sat down and talked to me and told me I had to stay in the business. You helped me out. You motivated me to stay in the business, and today I'm a mega dealer, I've got more stories like that. People that I trained early on that are now general managers, dealer principals, people that I trained from salesperson up all the way through management. That's the legacy, and I'm still doing that. Now I'm doing it with the college classes. Debbie, my wife, and I, we did 25 internet battle plans, 4 sales manager super conferences. We're getting 250 people, 20 speakers, 20 sponsors, and I had cancer 2 years ago, in 2019. I went through esophageal cancer. I almost died 3 times. And I was laying on a table and I heard a doctor say, "Hurry up, we're losing him." So, I lost 100 pounds. People remember I used to be a lot bigger. I was lifting a lot of heavy weights when I was young. I bench pressed 450 most of my adult life.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, so I lost 100 pounds with the cancer. But we stopped doing the conferences. Now I'm doing the online video training.
Virtual. Yeah.
Virtual training. I signed a contract just before we got on air for a sponsor for that. And so shifted into the virtual world. I'm making my living with a webcam now.
Yeah. Man, I can't tell you how awesome this has been for me. Like, I'm sure that your content reaches a lot of folks, and I'm one of the people that consume it, and it's helped me in my career. And just to have the opportunity to talk to you here, it's amazing. Like I can't think of, right now, I can't think of a better person to have this conversation with, to have on the show. Like, it's just, I get a little emotional just saying it, because it's been like, man, it's been, you've been one of those influential people.
So, have me back sometime. If I can help you, I'm here for you.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. Thanks for everything that you do for the industry. There is one question that I ask everybody that comes on the show, and that question is, where do you see the automotive industry headed in the next 5 years, and why?
Oh, that's easy. Electric.
That's probably the best answer to that question I've ever gotten. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. I don't think it's going to get any better than that, folks. Mr. Ziegler, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. I hope that people that tune in get all the value from it. And, thanks for everything that you do for us, for the industry.
Thank you.
Appreciate you so much, sir. All right, everybody. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in. That is all the time that we have for today. Some new content's coming out soon. Remember, we still got a couple episodes left for season 6. So we're going to be dropping those every Tuesday. Make sure to tune in. Thanks again. That's it. All we have. And as usual, we'll talk later.
We only host a well-respected. The vendor LexisNexis. We don't sell digital marketing. What you do? We inspect it with our DT vendor management.
Now more than ever, businesses need more efficient sales. That's why thousands of dealerships trust Foureyes to help with things like automated inventory email updates and ensuring all of your leads get into the CRM. To try Foureyes for free, visit foureyes.io/dealertalk. That's foureyes.io/dealertalk.